The school system is fundamentally flawed. Yeah, we all know that. Forcing students into classrooms 8 hours a day to learn about what? Algebra? Literature? Whatever. All these subjects that you may or may not be interested in at all. And as the school year progresses, you're forced to do assignments, quizzes, exams that's essentially just trivia about things you don't care about at all that you're forced to study for. Yeah, we all know it sucks. Tell me, when am I ever gonna use calculus in my daily life? Why do I even need to know calculus when integralcalculator.com is right there? Yet, despite that, I was forced to go through 6 migraines every single time I had a math test. The pain and the torture! So, let's see. Looking back, what lessons do schools as a whole actually succeed in teaching? And how exactly did I myself even benefit from all this? Spoiler alert, it's not about the academics at all. Believe it or not, school was rough. And no, I'm not referring to my social life as much as it sounds like. Yeah, no, we'll get there later. No, I'm mainly talking about school itself, so literally everything else. Mine started at 7:10 and ended at 4 p.m. But since I lived a distance away from my school, I had to wake up at the crack of dawn, 6 a.m., just to commute and barely get there on time. Yeah, okay, I get it, 6 a.m., not that bad, whatever, yeah. I've had some classmates that have had it a lot worse though, I knew this one guy who got up at 4 every day and still arrived to school late. Oh yeah, and have I even mentioned extracurriculars? Some clubs ended at 5:30 p.m. and of course, I had the privilege, or I guess more like disprivilege, to be in such a club. That's how many? Math has never really been my strong suit, as you see, that's 45 of my days spent in school. What the heck? And you best believe the other 50% is spent either doing homework, which is essentially just school part 2, home edition, but worse because now you're forced to relearn new things by yourself. Or, I'd be sleeping at home like a lazy sack of, oh wait, that doesn't add up to 100. But regardless of how many hours of sleep I had the previous night, I would always end up arriving to school the next day groggy as all heck, functioning like the single brain-celled organism I am. And I know that wasn't just a me problem, okay? Everyone else at school was the same way as well. When I arrived to school in the morning, I would just see hordes of brain-dead zombies all around me, or at least that's what it felt like. So, school, tell me how you expect any of us to function in class with such low energy. And that's the worst part. Classes. Schedule classes starting at 7 a.m. What could possibly go wrong, right? At my school, sometimes there'd be 3 straight periods of a class, so that basically means 3 hours straight learning chemistry or whatever. And of course, by the 1 hour 30-minute mark, and that's even stretching it, our attention spans as a collective would have already completely vanished. Okay, well, except for maybe the few genius class toppers that sat up front and still somehow managed to ask questions and point out teachers' mistakes. And I know the teachers did not want to be there. They are not being paid enough to go on a yap fest for 3 hours straight in front of what felt like talking to a brick wall. Oh, wait. So really, apart from my school failing to educate me as an individual, what's left of school is there for me to enjoy? Well, now this is the part where we talk about that. Social interactions 101, how to approach people. See, that's the thing, you don't! You know why? 'Cause the school does it all for you, baby! You're set up with group projects, assigned seating arrangements, camps, field trips, whatever. Look, you practically don't even have to lift a single finger and all these people are coming. Let me tell you. While everyone balked at the idea of assigned seating, don't tell anyone, but as a pretty socially sort of anxious teen who also desperately wanted others to see me as something more, I actually liked assigned seating. Okay, yeah. Cancel me if you want. I just exposed my secret. Yes, I'm sorry it had to come out this way. I was an assigned seating liker. Okay, but seriously, look at it. There's just so much potential. Well, given you don't end up with all of the objectively bad students of that specific class, of course. Now that's just a skill issue. If you end up being that person, well, my advice is to never go gambling, I guess. Okay, say you end up in specific circumstances with a classmate you're not super close with, but you guys are both kind of chill and kind of mysterious to each other in a way, and now you're forced to talk or do some sort of long-term group project together. Now that's a new possible acquaintance in the making. So for that, you gotta bring out the big guns. But despite everything, even if you're trying to reach for something you have in common with the other party, oh wait, that's it! You guys do have something in common. You literally attend the same school. Talk about anything. Talk about how tiring it is to commute every day, or, if you two happen to be the only people hard carrying the group project while the rest of the team are slacking off or eternally absent. Complain about it. Trust me, things like that only strengthen the bond between you two in the long run. Let's go! Bonding over shared experiences. Okay, well, I know many people refer to this as trauma bonding, but fun fact, the actual term of trauma bonding actually means something completely different. Trauma bonding refers to the negative, often abusive, emotional bond between abusers and their victims. Yes. Yeah, I have seen this term be misused a lot when talking about something else, so I just want to put that out there. Actually, friendships that are formed by the shared experiences of, whether it be past trauma between people, can be pretty deep. You get to really connect on that emotional, spiritual level, if you will. But really, isn't that just the fun of it? Being able to talk to someone about something that you both have in common. So you're probably seeing where I'm getting at here. Connections. Yay. Now, small talk, as trivial as it may be, or is, can actually be spun into something greater if you're able to do so. Listen, kiddo, in this world, connections are everything. I'm talking in the general broad sense of things, okay? Let's say you're applying for a job. In real life, job application, boo. No matter how qualified you are and no matter how hard you work just to get this job, there's always gonna be someone out there who manages to get in with little to no effort. And that's nepotism, baby! And it's the fact that school at least gives me a chance to somehow climb my way up the nepotism ladder that I am eternally grateful for. In the end, maybe I was just lucky to have a community that was, for the most part, not super hostile. Sure, we would have a few bad apples here and there, but for the most part, those later end up being weeded out by the rigorous academic system in my school anyways, so they just end up transferring eventually. And thinking back, I really was just surrounded by a bunch of nerds. They say your community is what builds your personality to what it is today, so now you know how I turned out this way. Anyway, sorry for the sort of rushed, shorter video today. I've been really busy lately, and also, as unfortunate as it is, I haven't really had the motivation, hence the pretty long gap between this video and the last one. Just a heads up though, I'm currently in the process of moving and whatnot, so uploads will be sparse between now and, say, sometime in October, perhaps. Things will probably settle down in about a month's time. But anyways, that's enough life talk. Salutations, I suppose, and I'll see you guys next time.